All right, I'm here with Marcey Norland, our Algebra 1 teacher, and I observed her teaching lesson 4.2 and 4.3 one day. And in the first video, I forgot to include what we were going to do data collection on, and so Marcey and I talked after that meeting and decided on number of transitions, students maybe engaged and not engaged, and maybe question types. So I went through and scripted the lesson, and I have all of that data to go through with her. So I was gonna go through that, and then, if that's okay, quickly, and then we can get into questions. So I went through and recorded transitions, and for that hour, there were 10 transitions. I thought that was absolutely awesome. You asked the kids to extend a table, write an equation, they had to decide things with partners by themselves, they had a homework assignment, they had notes, they had to do a graphing piece. I just thought you had a variety of things that they were doing that were different, which was wonderful. In terms of engagement, I was a little concerned about the boys at the back of that table being on task, and then the two boys that sat directly in front of me in that pod.
Okay.
I don't think those 5 kids took notes, is what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question types for the Bloom's taxonomy, you were on all the levels. You asked, just extended a table, what does this mean, this answer mean? Analyze this, evaluate this, does this number work, create a table, why is this the answer? I thought your question types were spot on in terms of hitting all levels of remember and evaluate and understand.
Okay.
So I thought that was really good.
Okay.
I thought that was really good.
I'm glad you have that all out there.
And I can show you the script, but this is definitely a lot more.
I'm always working on questioning, so.
Yeah, and well, like, where is the 512 coming from? Why did we put a break in the graph? Do we expect a straight line? Do we need to put things in quadrant 1? This was something with the positive and negative and with the time and things.
Or the situation.
Yep.
Does it?
They were great. They were all the levels.
Okay.
So I thought those were awesome
Good to
things. So now thinking about this, my first question is which individuals were not engaged, and then which ones do you think typically are?
Okay, and obviously you had a better view, and
That's okay.
And when you're in a lesson, it's hard to go around unless I do put them in those I do break them up and have them working, and so that's where I found that having a lot of transitions sometimes helps. Just flipping a switch sometimes will help get some kids engaged. But I do have those students in my room that I just sometimes can't get them to do anything,
Do you find if they're in a certain area of the room, or is it just a certain kid that you feel like is always this way?
There's definitely certain kids.
Okay.
There's definitely certain kids. And certain times of the day, between blocks, right after lunch, sometimes I get sleepy ones. But, and sometimes I try to move. I've had several seating arrangements and several configurations of my seats, trying to mix it up that way too.
Okay.
Haven't found the perfect arrangement yet.
I don't know if there is.
Or a seating chart, but I'm still working towards something.
Right.
But I know no matter what, you're going to have students not engaged, and so that's something for me to strive towards. And I'm assuming it's within my lesson and what I'm having them do. I had one student say, if you just entertain us, and you try to entertain, but at some point, I'm exhausted if I'm constantly entertaining. So that being said, just mixing it up, having some fun tasks, I think would maybe get some more engagement.
Do you think that I've always wondered about, the kids have talked about the T-zone, the front and the middle.
Yes.
Do you feel like those group of kids maybe are more or less engaged?
I haven't really thought about that term. I remember a teacher, which is this horrible to say, but it's not anything I ever thought, but they talked about A rows, like everybody in the front is in the A row, then the B row, then the C row, and you wondered if being closer, of course, you're more engaged is what I'm thinking, and you're absorbing more. But, I've never heard of the T-zone. That's interesting. It's something to think
and
about.
I've had some kids request it, and it, and then I've had some kids say, I wanted to sit in the back, I want to sit in the front. I know it just, like you said, it depends on the kids, the time of the block. I mean, I agree with you there.
In arrangement, that's where I get some of my students who are misbehaving for attention reasons. I tend to not want to put them in the T-zone because that's where they want to be. They want to be on stage,
Gotcha.
And
so you're strategic not to put them where you feel
like
like others.
I'm trying not to, but I also want to keep them with me. So you want to keep them engaged, but you don't want them to be
So it's the
distracting.
balance. Mm-hmm. So what was exciting about the lesson? Do you, like I said, I know it's been a few days.
What I struggled about the lesson is I just came back from a trip.
Okay.
And so I wasn't sure where the kids were as far as, because I hadn't done an assessment ahead of time.
Okay.
I jumped in a new chapter with the assumption that we're going to be okay. I think you were here the second day I was back. So I think that first day I felt okay that we were able to go on. And we were early in the chapter, so I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to get. We needed to do some catch up, and so I ended up putting 2 lessons into one. I knew since I struggle with block scheduling, I've never done it before.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how that was going to work. As far as the pacing chart in the book, it was okay by the book standards or the curriculum.
Okay.
But since I have not had experience with putting 2 lessons into one. That's where I struggle. But the 2 lessons were, finding patterns with linear functions and nonlinear functions. So I thought they lent themselves well
to be paired.
Be paired.
Okay.
It was a lot, and so the lesson was longer, and I know that probably had a lot to do with the kids who are disengaged.
So I'm going to kind of piggyback because you said, what will you do differently? So I think I heard you say you liked that those 2 lessons paired well.
Yes. And I didn't answer your question. That's exactly where I was going. I liked that they paired well.
Yeah. So you're going to make sure you're
and
thinking
I felt
about
like
that
I
they
was
paired
catching
well.
up, after being gone.
Okay.
But what would I do differently? Of course, I would want to have a little more formative assessment, see where they're at.
Okay.
I wished I would have had that because I kind of went in blind.
Okay. And do you think, did you have homework? How did you set the homework up online for those sections? Did you just have one with it all blended, or did you do 2 separates?
I did one blended.
Blended, okay.
And that's another thing I thought about. I thought about if I would have kept those 2 separate, I could kind of see, instead of having to go into each student's homework,
Okay.
I could see where they were high and low. And I already made the assumptions it would be on the ladder 4-3, the nonlinear, because I figured they were not probably as familiar from their 8th grade standards as they were with linear functions. But again, I was guessing. So that's where I needed probably a little bit more assessment. And that could have been done actually in the bell ringer at the beginning.
Okay.
I could have done that right away, had some kind of idea, and had 2 paths to go on.
Okay.
And, but I'm learning. I think, we got through it. It actually did very well. So
awesome. So what things would you keep the same then?
Well, the transitions.
Yep.
I knew being a long lesson, I knew I needed to mix it up in there, and so I think I keep the transitions. Other than that,
do you think this is me thinking that you had so many different question types and different levels within those? I think built in with the transitions. I think that is something that you would. Well, that was a good thing that you should do again. You had them think with their partner, what do you think about this? Extend the table now. And then it was, hey, just graph these points. So I think the level of things they had to do within those transitions was really good too.
Okay, that's good.
So I think that's something you would keep. Just my thought.
Nope, I appreciate it.
Okay, so did you think the students learned what you intended, and then how do you know?
And like I said previous, I do, and that was through their homework.
Okay.
And through I have an online assessment also.
So the homework is what they worked on at the end of the period, and then that's due for the next day. So you check that.
And we usually do a little bit of discussing that, and I wrap that up into a review for a bell ringer.
So you open the class the next day with that.
Right.
Okay.
And then if that's when we go into a quiz, and then I can see for sure.
And then you have a quiz after you do the bell ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And any questions they might have had on the homework that they didn't come in and ask me ahead of time.
Okay. And so, let's see. I forgot. Did we? Oh, we did talk about that.
And you did ask me what was exciting about the lesson.
Well, and I think you kind of talked about the things that you felt like you would do the same, which was exciting. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I just guess getting into graphing. I just love working with students in graphing, and I just was excited to get into this chapter period because this kind of is where it all opens up, and lots of stuff is going to happen, and then we're going to get into slope, and always call that the meat and potatoes of algebra. So, I
And
was excited
do you
about
think it helps that it's so visual?
yeah,
for the kids?
and then that they know that they're learning different ways of seeing a. I'm videoing it.
All right, one last question, then
Okay.
we'll hustle. Did you alter your goals at all, your plans when you were teaching the lesson?
Honestly, I'm sure I did because usually I do. I usually always have kind of a plan A, plan B.
Okay.
Sometimes I have to punt, but I always make sure, and I learned that early on in teaching block. Actually, I learned that like the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Never be underprepared, always be overprepared.
So like did you add an example here or add another description?
I usually do
or?
that. If I feel like all the lights are on, we're getting it, I'll move on to the next problem. But if there's a lot of questions and they're
Okay.
not seeing, I always have a backup question.
Backup question.
Or backup problem
okay.
to work through. Yep.
All right. I'm sorry, the kids are coming in and they're
Yeah.
excited to learn. So
Oh.
I so appreciate you, Marcy,
Yeah.
letting me do this. It was
Anytime.
awesome.
Anytime, please come
Um,
back.
Yes, I
Hopefully
would
I'll
love
learn
to.
things. Okay.
I'd love to. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Um,
Great.
Stop.